Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Sterling. Thanks for joining the channel. It's always great to get together with you here every week, and we always have a lot of fun and exchange a lot of information. Today, I thought we would cover the topic of signs or messages from heaven, which is a very common topic, and then we'll go through a top 25 countdown of frequently asked questions, as we always do. First, a couple of quick housekeeping items at the top of the show. We are still giving away a free half-hour session with myself and with Linda Grindle. And the way you qualify to win those sessions is that by entering comments in these shows, starting off with the word love, and also ensuring you're a subscriber to the channel. When we reach 17,000 subscribers, and we're about 400 away right now, we'll select a winner, and then you'll be notified. And so that's something we're doing as I reach every 1,000 subscriber level, we're doing it. So the next level is 17,000. The other quick housekeeping item I want to mention, people asking how to submit questions for the shows. Every week on Monday or Tuesday, we put out a comment on the community board, a request for questions. And that's where we kind of take the topics and the questions for these shows. Some people have trouble finding the community board. I'll tell you that community board does not show up on a lot of different mobile devices, does not show up on iPads and tablets and many different types of iPhones and mobile devices if you're using the YouTube app. The easiest way to see the community board is to use a laptop computer or a desktop computer and use the youtube.com URL and then search for the Sterling Psychic Medium channel. You'll see the community board. In some cases, the community board does show up on late model mobile devices using the latest version of iOS, for example, on Apple, and the latest version of the YouTube app. But the YouTube app is a little finicky, if you will. You can't always see the community board. So I would suggest you use the laptop computer or desktop computer and use a browser like Safari, Internet Explorer. So hopefully that helps. So let's jump into kind of the topic for today's show, the top line topic about messages from heaven and kind of, hearing from your loved ones. So your loved ones that crossed over always want to communicate with you. And as soon as you start thinking about them or talking with them, this could be spouses or children or grandparents, even our pets and animals, they can hear us as soon as we reach out and try to communicate with them. But, what are the categories of the types of ways in which they communicate or we can get messages? There are things like money or coins. There are things like feathers or songs or music lyrics we hear. Animal interaction, birds, videos, publications, newspapers, phrases that someone might say to us, pictures that we look at, colors, sounds, even future events. So we just covered a very broad category, but let me just say that a lot of people learn how to communicate with the one force or God early on in childhood and how to pray, and that's great. Everybody has a team, an additional team with them, or of birth angels and working spiritual guides. And then you have a lot of family members and loved ones that have crossed over, and pets and animals that also communicate with us and are around us. So many times the signs and the ways that our loved ones will communicate with us, take different shapes depending on the level of our different forms, I should say, depending on the level of our ability to communicate and understand and kind of our growth in the spiritual area. But let's take a few of these one by one. So for example, coins, it's very common to find money, might be nickels, dimes, or quarters in the middle of rooms that we never go into. Those are usually signs from loved ones as we ask for a sign from heaven. You might find feathers. Feathers are very common. You might be out for a walk or go various places you never go before and find a feather. Those are usually meant for you. It's a sign that your loved ones trying to communicate, send you love. You might hear a song or a song lyric that reminds you of a loved one, or a very specific phrase or a lyric in a song that communicates directly with you about maybe the way that a loved one or a phrase a loved one used to use. You might see animals or birds interacting with you, and flocks of birds or even butterflies in certain areas that maybe you don't always go to. And then it's a very unusual circumstance right after you ask for communication from your guides. These are all ways in which the other side tries to communicate. You can also hear sounds. The other side can manipulate frequencies. So you might hear a bell sound or high frequency, let's say tinkling sound that you wouldn't normally hear, or there's nothing in the room that would indicate that that would be it. It could be an alarm clock going off. It could be a picture frame falling over of a loved one. All these things are the types of signs and the ways that the other side tries to communicate with you. So at a very baseline level, almost doesn't matter where you are in your spiritual journey, your loved ones on their side do try to communicate. They do try to let you know that they're around you. You might feel a tap on a shoulder or a cold chill, very common type of a sign. So look for these and you kind of be sensitive to them, because they're all reinforcement messages that your loved ones are around, and they want the best for you, and they can hear you and they see what's going on. So hopefully that helps. So now let's get into the top 25 countdown of frequently asked questions. And I start off with two bonus questions, if you will, before we start the top 25, because these bonus questions seem to come up even more often than the other 25. So the first bonus question for today is, will Biden and the Democrats fight back against Republican voter suppression, changing state laws to stack the deck in their favor? And will the Democrats help to save democracy? Yes. And one of the biggest ways it's going to happen is that the For the People Act, which is classified as HR 1 or S1 in the Senate, will eventually be passed. And obviously it's been a rocky road. It's been difficult. And, the filibuster's been used. I do see modification of the filibuster in order to help passing of the For the People Act. So this is all coming, and it looks to me like that this For the People Act, as we're calling now, will eventually get passed by 2022. So it's going to be a little bit of a rough road, if you will, kind of this year, but we'll eventually get to it passing. Now, interesting enough, there's a Voting Rights Act that a lot of people quote that's currently in effect from 1965. That a lot of the guts of it, if you will, were removed by the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts, which is now allowing a lot of the GOP to pass kind of these voter suppression laws. All this is going to be corrected, but I see a lot of this happening as we get into 2022. The second bonus question for today is, I've wondered what happens when people die at the same time, as in a plane crash or in 9/11. Have they agreed to this beforehand, and do they transcend together? Yes. So whenever you see a major event like that happening, let's say like a tragic plane crash or even 9/11, there's a soul contract with a lot of these individuals that agreed to transcend or move beyond at the same time. And I'll tell you also that what I see all the time from the other side is that when these tragic events happen, soul energies are removed from the bodies before the actual event. So before an actual plane, say, impacts the ground, or before a lot of the devastation happens in events like 9/11, souls are removed from their bodies beforehand so that they don't experience all the pain. So it's a very important issue. I do see souls leaving, much earlier than the actual event. So let's get into the top 25 countdown of the most frequently asked questions for today here. Number 25 in the countdown, Mike Flynn and Matt Gaetz recently have made statements to incite violence. Will there be another coup attempt or another aggressive action? No, I don't see another coup attempt. What's interesting is that a lot of federal agencies and the FBI and whatnot knew about the coup attempt, the last January 6th insurrection, in advance, but they discounted some of the intelligence that they had. And you can chalk this up to experience wherever the organizations were being run. But what I do see is that now going forward, they take a lot of the threats very seriously. They put many more safety precautions in place, and we will not see the same type of coup attempt that we saw in January 6th. So those mistakes won't be repeated by the federal agencies. They're very well prepared. Number 24 in the countdown, how do you know if you're with your soulmate? So soulmates, we actually have many soulmates as we go through life, and soulmates are all part of our blueprint, our contract that we came down here with. Soulmates always leave an impression on your heart. It's always usually a lot of emotion associated with soulmates. And so, the very fact that we're with individuals that are affecting our lives and touching our hearts, that's usually how you know you're with a soulmate. So I want to be clear that you'll have many soulmates as you go through life. The subject of twin flame comes up a lot, and twin flame is sometimes just more of a more important soulmate, if you will. They're all soulmates, and it's interesting with twin flames. That's not doesn't always mean that's a romantic relationship, although many times they are. But the twin flame topic comes up a lot around soulmates, and twin flame is another type of a soulmate, sometimes a more important soulmate. Number 23. If animals come back, or if animals come back in a different body, can they choose to be different animals? If so, can they again be with their soul families here on Earth? Yes, animals can select to be a different type of an animal to come back. I do see, interesting enough, a lot of times horses and dogs changing, if you will. So a horse may want to come back as a dog and vice versa. It's funny, on Earth, I do see a lot of connection between dogs and horses. You can certainly, the animals can certainly transition to other types of animals. And they do, even though animals are all part of the angelic realm, they do travel with our soul families. So many times I see animals moving with other human soul families, which we have hundreds of individuals in our soul families on the other side, and animals do transfer with our soul families, absolutely. Number 22, how long before RNA gene therapy is going to be used to attack cancer in the body? Well, I've talked about this many times on shows I've done with Linda, but gene editing and gene therapy are coming, and they're going to be very prominent over the next 5 to 10 years here in solving a lot of health concerns that we have here among human beings. Gene editing will be used to modify DNA, because the way cancer works is it tends to rewrite some of the DNA in the body. So gene therapy will be used to help modify DNA. And as a consequence, there's some RNA technology in there, but it's mostly about gene editing and gene therapy and modification of DNA to help prevent cancer over the next 5 to 10 years here. 21, is the human race becoming too lazy and diverging from our nature? Are they relying too much on technology instead of senses and natural abilities? So there's a natural progression happening here among humankind, but it has a lot to do with the advancement of technology. Now, technology is very, very helpful, and specifically artificial intelligence technology and supercomputing. And what these technologies do is they allow you to kind of get your arms around vast amounts, trillions and trillions of pieces of data, and actually find patterns that human beings wouldn't normally see, just due to the extensive of the data and the information. So I don't say human beings are becoming lazier. We're actually using technology to enhance the ability to recognize patterns and get information and move along kind of in medical advances that we wouldn't normally be able to do. So one of the things that will never be replaced by technology is creativity and innovation, and kind of the elements of the soul that technology will never be able to replace. So those are important elements. Okay, number 20 in our top 25 countdown. Does the strength of the LGBTQ community and the young people coming out and acceptance mark our new transition into the age of Aquarius? Yes, in certain instances. What's happening now amongst people and a lot of individuals that we know is that there's going to be much more of a sense of understanding of different types of races and sexual orientation, and all of these things are part of, let's say, the age of Aquarius, and a deeper understanding around humankind as to that we are all of the one force and of God, and all this is complementing that growth. Yes, absolutely. Number 19, did God create all aliens? Yes, everything in the universe has been created by the one force or God, and he or she is the one force, and they've created everything, including aliens. Absolutely. Number 18, will there ever be a cure or effective treatment for insomnia? Yes, within actually a few short years here, what I see is that we'll actually have an electrical stimulus device that may be worn around the wrist. Looks like it's around the wrist to me, that will help the body kind of resynchronize our own natural biorhythms, and this will actually lead to helping to cure cases of insomnia. But it looks like for me, the major development will be around electrical stimulus as opposed to some other, pharmaceutical development. Number 17, our top 25 countdown. What does Spirit say is the ideal diet for humans? If we could put aside our cultural experiences and preferences and habits, and we're eating purely for health, what would that look like? Well, the simple message here is that is to stay with all types of whole foods, not processed foods, eating really from all the major food groups. And the key here is that it's moderation in all things in life, and a balance of whole foods is really what the Spirit says is kind of the best way to go through life in terms of eating patterns. Number 16 in our top 25 countdown. Will Dominion win their lawsuit against, it says here, the My Pillow guy, which is Mike Lindell? And the answer is yes. This lawsuit will be fully completed and addressed, and the case will be settled by early 2022 against the My Pillow CEO and in favor of Dominion. Yes. Number 15. Will internet service ever be affordable public utility as opposed to monopolistic companies charging whatever they want? Here again, yes. I do see a number of entrepreneurs, if you will, like Elon Musk and his Starlink satellite venture, which is now putting up kind of over 12,000 small satellites orbiting Earth. They'll provide, high bandwidth and internet access to a lot of developing countries in the world. So we will see more upstarts, just like Elon Musk Starlink, providing internet access, broadband access in a much more affordable way, and kind of away from what's being classified as the few monopolies. Number 14, how do we clear energy and our chakras? How often should we do it? Well, chakras relate to our energetic body. There are 7 major chakras, and certainly, meditation, and there are chants, and there are other types of things that we can do to kind of balance our chakras. This is all very important. You should do it as often as it makes sense for you. So as you feel a beneficial effect from balancing your chakras, you should definitely do it. Many people also ask, what are the chakras? There are 7 major chakras. And I think I can name them all off here. There's the crown chakra, the third eye chakra, throat chakra, heart, solar plex chakra, the sacral chakra, which is also termed the sex chakra, and the root chakra. So all those are important kind of to balancing. By the way, one of the things that prevents chakra balancing or aggravates them, like anything, is fear or anxiety. This really causes kind of an imbalance in all the chakras. So hopefully that helps. 13, how can the Akashic records show our future if we have free will? This question does come up a lot. And free will does not take you off your life path. What free will does is it actually either accelerates or de-accelerates, if you will, our life path, and can change the scale at which we achieve what we're here to do. So for example, does it take 4 months or 4 years or 40 years to achieve our life path? And then there's a scale. So do we affect 10 people or 10,000 people or 10 million people? Well, we came down here for. So free will causes a little bit of what I would call a zigzag on our life path, and can exchange the acceleration through our life path on the scale, but does not take us completely off of our life path. Number 12, do ETs have the same afterlife transition as humans? Like the tunnel of life, can they reincarnate as humans? Yes and yes. So our ET friends do have a life review. They do move to the other side. They do have an afterlife. And they can also reincarnate as other types of ETs and even as humans. And there is an ability to exchange on the other side in varying capacities, humans for ETs and ETs for humans. That's a larger discussion, has to do with elevation of our energetic level on the other side, but there is a way to exchange and come back and reincarnate as humans or ETs, and ETs do experience very similar afterlife transitions as humans. Number 11, in our top 25 countdown, is it okay if you do not want children or particularly like being around them? Yes, and most certainly it's all part of your life path blueprint when you came down here for. that if that's children were not something that you thought was an important life lesson or something you wanted to enhance your life path with or get involved with, normally that's natural and you kind of inherently know it. So if you came down here and you have a sense that children and that kind of extended family was not important to you, it's certainly not an accident. Number 10, how do we know when our soul contract with other people has been fulfilled? Here again, our soul contract relates directly to our life blueprint, and we actually receive progress reports as we go through life. So as you fulfill different elements of your life path, you'll find that you do get confirmations in life, and you're in a flow of life. The master way in which we know that we fulfilled our life blueprint or our soul contract is when we actually do pass on. There's always a life review, but the more important thing, you will get progress reports as you go through life. Number 9 in our top 25 countdown, since we lose our bodies and senses when we pass, how is it possible to see, hear, and interact with our loved ones? So our souls are really composed of pure, perfect energy. And that pure, perfect energy has all the elements that allow us to communicate with all of our senses, and even senses that we didn't know we had. So much the same way that physically we interface with people here, and we can interface with the other side, and that in a way communicates directly with our spirit and our soul energy. The soul energy we communicate with here is the same as the soul energy they used to communicate with on the other side. Hopefully that makes sense. It's our soul being that is really the functioning element here on Earth and the functioning element that's on the other side. Number 8 in the countdown, I've learned that when we go to heaven, we experience no pain, no sorrow, no tears. Do we experience nothing but joy and love and peace there? The answer is yes. The other side, heaven, is all composed of love energy. You can certainly, gain an understanding of other types of feelings, sorrow, that kind of thing, but you don't spend a lot of time in it. You do not, have to experience it. There are some unique lessons that we come down to Earth to feel and touch and experience, and sorrow is certainly one of them, but peace, love, and joy are the central energies we experience on the other side. Number 7 in our countdown, do aliens have a monetary system? Yes, they actually exchange what I call valuable resources in exchange for work effort. So a little different than money, but they exchange valuable resources in exchange for work. 6, if ETs communicate telepathically, can we connect with them now? Yes, and many people do. I have a team of ETs that I communicate with. They're all part of the council, and you'll see many individuals with close encounters of the third kind, so to speak, down here on Earth. Certainly communicate with the ETs telepathically. That's predominantly the way that they communicate. Sometimes the subject will come up, well, how do they communicate if they don't understand our language, or there are so many languages here on Earth? And it's that telepathic communication with our mind muscle is how they communicate. Number 5, do you see anything in the future that will help us age with less physical effects and sagging wrinkles? Yes, here again, gene editing technology will be at the core of a lot of this in order to help our bodies recuperate and heal and correct some of the things that we see, the artifacts that we see with aging. Number 4, will there be a common world language? No, not completely, but there already is. So we were just kind of alluding to it in some prior questions here. The way we communicate telepathically with ETs, the way we communicate with spirit on the other side, those are universal languages. And so the universal language is that of spirit and of love, and that communication language tells us whatever we need to in kind of whatever language or thought process is required. So, just the same way that you might learn to speak a different language and know how to translate that internally yourself from, let's say, French to English, that universal core understanding is what transmits all the thoughts and the language that we need. So there won't necessarily be a universal language as we know it, but the way it gets communicated to us is universally understood. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 3, Science is showing that our poles have shifted 3 other times, not counting this one. Will the rapid melting of ice from climate change precipitate a rapid pole shift dangerous to current civilizations? This pole shift discussion comes up a lot. So let me just lay out a couple of things here. There's what's called a geographic North and South Pole that never changes. And then there's a magnetic North and South Pole that is constantly changing. And in fact, science can measure the fact that it's moving, I think, at approximately 25 miles per year across kind of northern Canada. So this magnetic pole shift is shifting. There hasn't really been a full magnetic pole shift in human history, although some scientists think that it occurred maybe 700, almost 1 million years ago. I don't see a big, complete magnetic pole shift in our lifetime to the people that are here. But what the things the magnetic pole shift is doing, it shifts the ways that Earth fights off different types of cosmic rays that they can affect different types of cancer, for example. So the magnetic pole shift is occurring. It's certainly adjusting cosmic rays and weather patterns, but I don't see a full magnetic pole shift in our lifetimes. Number 2, do you see anything coming up next week? I do. I do see increased levels of effort to remove Netanyahu as Prime Minister of Israel, and I think it's going to be successful very shortly here. I also see signs coming out in public here that 45 is now getting into some significant health problems. So we're going to see some of that coming up. I do see more individuals deposed by the Manhattan DA and grand jury in order as they kind of weave their way through the 45's organization. I do see that we're going to see much more efforts around Jeff McConney, him being deposed and kind of leading up to Alan Weisselberg. And, that holds the CFO and the controller efforts to get into the depths of all the financial transactions of 45's organization. So we'll see a lot of that happening. And unfortunately, I do see more gun violence and mass shootings coming up this week. We're going through a period here of many weeks of major gun violence and mass shootings. I do see that that's going to eventually, within about a month, 2 months here, are going to start to slow down. But it looks like every subsequent week here, we're going to see more and more mass shootings. And last but not least, our number 1 of the top 25 most frequently asked questions. Do your guides have anything they want to share for us this week? They do. So the message for this week is practice looking for direct signs from the universe. To all the efforts and spiritual work we're putting out there, when you put out a universal prayer, look for the distinct signs. This will help your growth and all the growths around you. So again, as you ask for signs from the universe, kind of going full circle with our topic today, and you pray and you put out love to the universe, look for the direct signs. So that concludes our quick get together here for this Sunday, June 6th. As always, please remember to subscribe and like these videos and share. They really help the channel. And look forward to seeing everybody next week. Until next week, I'm sending out a tremendous amount of goodwill to everybody and love. And stay tuned. We'll see you next week. All the best.